Hey, everybody. Welcome to the BA Zone's pre-show chat session this evening. It's going to be a short one, only 2 minutes, but it is election night and everybody's out there voting. Hopefully everyone got out there and voted. We already did that early this morning, so we've got a great show coming up tonight. The top 5 signs your user or employees need training materials. And that's always a hot topic. And there's absolutely nothing else on TV except election coverage. So please join us, get comfortable, have a good time here. Let's see what else is going on. We did last week's anniversary show. Hope you caught that. You can catch it on replay. We had a lot of fun doing that, Kathleen and I. So looking forward to the next 5 years. Actually, we were only 1 year. It just feels like 5 years because, it's a lot of work, but we do it out of love, for everybody. So again, if you have any suggestions for the shows, for future shows, please feel free to drop us a line. We get a lot of our shows from you guys. So please do that. And we're having a terrific night. We're going to go live here in just 1 minute. Kathleen is behind the scenes as always, making everything purr along perfectly. And let's see. Yeah, I just want to make sure I have a couple of things going here. You absolutely know when your users, employees need training materials. I was told I had a mailman today who delivered a package to me that was not even my address. Now that happens, sometimes it happens. But, when I went down the street to tell him it was the wrong address, he goes, "Oh, no," he says, "I didn't deliver that." He says, "That was UPS." I go, "I just watched you deliver it to my porch." So finally, I'm arguing with this postman. So that's when they might need a little more training, either on how to handle situations like that, someone coming up and giving them a package back at the wrong address, or just getting it right in the first place. So it's just that type of thing going on there. I don't know what's going on with the post office. Anyway, okay, it is 8 o'clock. It is live time. And everybody, welcome. Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, everybody. Tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the top 5 signs your users or employees need training materials. And we're going to get into that in just a second. And before we do, just to let you know, I'm Marianne Morrison, and the woman behind the scenes is Kathleen Sinnott, and we are the co-founders of the BA Zone. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's show, and we'll let Kathleen run that intro. Stay tuned, get comfy. Okay, everybody, ready to start the show. Okay, tonight's show. We're going to be talking about training materials and training in general. And, the top 5 signs that your users or employees need training and why that is so important to business analysts. So, there are the normal training type things that you have. You have your new employees, or you may have changes to existing processes or your technology. And then there's also that kind of training that becomes necessary because maybe you didn't have training in the first place, or it's just really not working that well. Maybe it was a one and done type of training instead of ongoing periodic trainings, or just maybe it wasn't really geared toward the correct audience, or, whatever the issue was. There are ways of identifying that you need training to begin with, or ongoing training, or new training. And some of those become very apparent. Tonight, we're going to go over the top 5 that we've come across in doing this. And, one of the number 1 reasons is that you are going to see a reduction in productivity, right? So people are not going to be able to get their job done because either they don't understand how the system or application works, or the process, or they're bumbling and stumbling around. They're asking questions, they're wasting time trying to get the answers that they need, or they're looking up answers in multiple places and getting different answers every time they look for one answer consistently. They're getting several different ones. Or they're reading lots of instructions. They have lots of sticky notes and lots of papers all over their walls. And it comes across when you start looking at, KPI, key performance indicators. And if you start seeing productivity drop that low, there could be a multitude of reasons for it. but one of them could be training, that the folks that you have on the front line doing the job, and whether it's a call center or just doing some type of application or whatever it is, that drop in productivity can definitely be related to a need for training. And sometimes some of the things that are not even measurable, not a key performance indicator, might be a lack of motivation. People look at employees and go, "Oh yeah, that guy's really just lazy." That lack of motivation may be that they just sort of give up. It's sort of like, I just don't know what the heck I'm doing. I can't stand the system I'm in. And it may have nothing to do with the application at all. It could be the way that they were trained how to use that application, or lack of training. And that is one of the ways you can identify that, you need some training. A second one is an increase in error rates. Now, that could be data entry error rates. It could be, errors that could be more, really serious if you're talking in the healthcare industry, that could cause, injury or damage in some way. And even fatalities. I mean, if someone doesn't understand how to use a particular piece of software, they could be coming up with incorrect diagnoses or treatment plans or whatever it is. And the same in industrial work as well. It can cause really severe injury or fatalities. And some of it comes just across in data. It could be date of births that are input incorrectly, or names that are input incorrectly, or information that should be in one area but is being put into a different area. It could be a free text area. So when you see a lot of these, and it could be in a hospital, it could be during a chart audit or something. But when you start to see a lot of these occurring across multiple employees, it could be a sign that you need some training in that area. In addition to other things, but training is the number one thing we're talking about tonight. A third thing is you could see a change in your support logs. So if you see an increase or a spike in support calls from the support desk or to the support desk, or an increase in bug reporting, it could be an increased request for new features. And it may be that they're just not using the current features that they have correctly, or they actually do need new features because someone is not, keeping up with the training and the needs of the users. And another one that you might see coming across in support logs or phone audits or something would be customer complaints. If you're starting to see customer complaints coming through in call centers, you know how they always say, stay on the line for that little survey after you speak to someone on the phone. Well, they actually do look at those surveys. And if you see a spike in that, it could be a sign that they need training around processes or the application. And I'm sure anybody out there, if you have any comments or any additional ones in those areas, just let us know, drop us a line, because that information is pretty valuable that comes across in all those logs. You could also have a fourth thing is poor audit scores. Like I said, we do a lot of industries do audits, whether it's a chart audit, a phone call audit, or someone actually sitting there and watching you work and auditing you that way. So that comes across in those audits. There could be knowledge assessments that they do to see if there's a gap, in that type of thing. On-site visits, as I said, observation, and the call audits. So those audit scores, when you put them across, it could be one person, right? And that could just be that particular employee. It could just be that they need whatever. They're just not doing their job. But when you see it across multiple employees within the same department having these type of audit skills, you really have to look. The first thing you have to look at is the training, and what is lacking. Are they, training, for a more common group and ignoring specialties or whatever that might be. So, and the fifth one that we come across a lot where you find a lot of need for training is when you do surveys. A lot of companies do annual employee surveys. They do a lot of constant training where you're taking these, you watch these little videos and taking assessments. There are user satisfaction surveys, customer satisfaction surveys, and even exit interviews. I mean, if your training is really that bad, or is just not up to par, you could actually lose valuable talent because no one's paying attention to their needs. They're frustrated in their job. They can't seem to, get a good raise or something. And it could all be due to poor training. So exit interviews, that's sort of like the fatalities in the industries and the healthcare. You could be losing really great talent because of just a simple thing as training. And that can also occur with high turnover. So employees who are badly trained, they lack confidence in their job performance. And they usually will report a low job satisfaction. So it's sort of this, goes to a lack of fulfillment. They don't feel fulfilled, and it increases their turnover, your employee turnover, and that is very costly for a business. If you have to keep training or retraining new employees coming in, it's much cheaper to have a small ongoing training periodically that's focused and that works, rather than retraining a brand new employee, someone who's left because there was no job satisfaction due to a training. So that's a bad thing on the surveys. So that is the 5 key ones that we found, and there are a tremendous amount of other ones, but those are the big ones that come to mind when we're talking about identifying training needs. So if you have any other ones, please feel free. I'll just jump over here and see. Let's. I've heard the Swiss cheese. Jason says, I've heard of the Swiss cheese effect, where enough small, tiny errors can lead up to catastrophic events. That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. It's sort of like the same thing with a windshield or a windscreen. You get that tiny little rock that hits the window, makes that little tiny ding, and then all of a sudden you've got a spider crack, and then your whole front windshield falls out. So yeah, that would definitely do it. So let's see what else goes. So let me know. So I think that's it. We're good for now. That was a great comment, though. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's just carry on then. Get back to here we go. So when we're talking about all of training, and a lot of business analysts out there are going to say, well, what the heck? Why are we talking about training for business analysts? I'll tell you why. All of those things that we discussed, for a lack of training, it's like business analyst gold. These are all insights that will help you. And from an insight perspective, it could be in the design of the system. It may be a training issue, but it also may be that the way the system is designed isn't quite exactly following a navigation flow correctly, or it's just too complex or complicated. And it shouldn't be, right? It should be simple. So it gives you a lot of information on how your users learn from the training, how they work, how often the specific tasks are performed, the level of skill needed and the knowledge needed to perform those particular tasks. So it also helps you identify pain points, right, within the user, the application. It's not just about training. And it may be that the training is not geared to that specific task. But then again, it could be a pain point that could easily be addressed in a small development, a small sprint. So it does give you all those pain points, how the system can be improved, if it's not intuitive, if the flow is wrong, or do we need to actually add training tips into the application? Whether these little tips they can click on and say, oh, that's how I do it. Or maybe it's a script. If they need to say specific things in a specific way, then we should be putting a script up that they can follow, and then they can answer particular items. It's very important when you have clients that make you adhere to specific verbiage. And if they don't do that in a call audit, it comes up, you can definitely add scripts or training tips. So it gives you all of these insights. It's a lot of valuable information. And it also helps you understand how familiar the employees are of your organization with the trends and standards within an industry. Are they up to speed with that industry verbiage and language, or the way an industry works, or are we even behind as opposed to other industries? Again, it's all these things you need when you start looking at requirements and design and sitting down and talking to users, in a very informative way, so that what they're feeling and how you can resolve that issue together, right? So you're in this together. We're always in it together as a team. And that helps build relationships as well with your clients, your customers, and your users. As business analysts also, we do a lot of, sometimes we're called upon to work with the sales team, especially if you've been a BA in a particular role with a particular product for a little while. And, they can put you out in front of clients. A lot of times you'll be tapped to go to those clients. And if you have to give a demo of the application, you want to be able to sell that application to a particular user. So if I'm sitting in front of a nurse and I'm talking to a nurse specifically, I understand her pain points and her knowledge gaps and issues because I've paid attention to the training needs of the users. And I can actually target my conversation to that particular user role. And that is extremely valuable. And, you want to branch out as a business analyst a little bit too, and understand how all the facets of the business work so you can make a better product, right? Also, you might be called upon to, fill out RFPs, requests for proposals, or requests for information. And that's all ways to target your audience by understanding your audience. I'll take a little sip there, sorry. And also, if you understand how to train a user and what is effective training, you may, or if you don't have a training team, a lot of smaller or mid-sized companies do not have training teams. But if you can actually train the client, and it doesn't have to be in-depth training, but if you can train a client to use your product that they've purchased or they've licensed, that makes it all the more valuable that you can offer that training, or a train the trainer type thing, where you can train one of their trainers and then they can train the masses. It's extremely valuable. And it gives you a different perspective. Again, you'll be talking in that training session, you'll be talking to users and getting ideas on how to improve the application or the product, right? So that's what we all want to do. We just want to make a better product, and everybody's happy. Everybody wins in that case. So let's see what, and that's from the sales perspective and the training. And again, it will help you identify gaps in training, any types of training that there might be. And again, like I said, is the training geared towards just common requirements, or is it ignoring or neglecting roles that have specific needs? So it gives you all of that type of information. And I think most importantly, it sort of shows you the importance of open communication. And we talk about open communication all the time, right? I talk, you listen, you talk, I listen. It'll help you identify gaps in knowledge and skills, and come up with training programs that will actually help the user, and applications that will actually help the user get their job done. That's the whole job, right? And because you know what happens if something goes wrong, they typically bypass training, bypass development. They come right back to the business analyst and say, oh, it was the requirements type of thing, when it may have absolutely nothing to do with that. So again, it's that open communication and building up a relationship that is so important for business analysts. Um, and we're going to be talking about in upcoming shows, how to run some of these training and the best type of training classes, and what works the best in different given situations. But in the meantime, let's just have Kathleen show how and where you can find us. And if you have any questions while she does that, let me just take a peek. We're good so far. So anyway, if you're looking for us, or if you want to share with a friend, you can follow us on thebazone.com. That's our website. We're on Twitter at the BA Zone. We're on Instagram.com, the BA Zone, Periscope TV, the BA Zone, Facebook, the BA Zone, and YouTube, tinyurl.com. But you can just search us anywhere and you can probably find us. And again, like I said, we definitely thank you for stopping by on your busy evening. And just to let you know, if you don't want to miss any of our classes, please join our mailing list. We don't do anything else with the information except let you know ahead of time what's going on in our schedule. And if there's any specials on classes of which we currently have 2 out there on thebazone.com. If you go out there, one is on the business analyst job search, hints and tips for success. And the other one is beating the experience needed vicious cycle when you don't actually have experience, where you can combine those 2 classes. And we're working on other ones as we speak. So if I'm just going to take a few seconds just to make sure there's no other question, because sometimes I cut off too quickly, and just want to make sure. But I hope you enjoyed this evening. And if you know anyone who would be interested in the subject, again, check out our site, and you can catch all our previous shows out there as well. And this one will be posted shortly. And it looks like we're good to go for this evening. I know we get a lot of comments after the show on the replay. So I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And I hope you have a great evening. And the polls should be closing soon, and regular TV will be coming back on shortly. So hang in there, everybody. But it's great. Get out there and vote if you haven't. And thank you again for so much for joining us. And we'll see you next week. And next week, I think, let me just see, we're going to be chatting about the pros and cons of different training materials and options. So please join us, and we'll have a great time. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great night. Take care.